So in Jesus telling us about this image of heaven, he describes heaven like a house. It's a house, and in this house, there's a place for us. And God is personally preparing this place for us. So imagine this, the God of the entire universe, the God that made all the galaxies and all the stars and everything that's out there, everything that's in creation, the God that designed DNA, the God that made waterfalls and babies, that brilliant, designing, awesome God is making a place, a customized place for you and me in the afterlife. That means it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. That means Ty from Extreme Home Makeover is going to be jazzed about it if he makes it to heaven. I hope he does. Chip and Joanna Gaines are definitely going to be there, so they'll be very excited about this. This actually highlights a problem for Christians. If we start really thinking about how powerful God is, how amazing God is, and that he's preparing this house with many rooms and there's a place for us, this presents us with a problem because oftentimes a lot of Christians are actually not that excited about heaven. Some Christians are even afraid to die. What's death going to be like? Is it going to be painful? What's heaven going to be like? Heaven sounds too nebulous. Rather than anticipating an incredible experience, a lot of Christians are like, it kind of sounds a bit boring. Sounds like church forever. Like who wants to go like, hey, I bet a church is great, but church forever? Wow, that sounds rough. A lot of people, we think it's going to be like a ghostly existence, just blissfully treated in such a way where I'm just basically being kind of dosed, almost like I'm just on some kind of like eternal drug where I'm not really myself. I'm just being tricked into this blissful experience. Some people worry about this, saying, am I really going to be me? Is it really going to be like this life? It just sounds like it's going to be monotonous. Like once you've done it for like 3 trillion times, aren't you going to get tired of that, bored of that? And of course, if heaven is that way, of course we're not going to be excited about it. Of course we're going to be hesitant about it. Of course we're not going to be looking forward to it because that sounds terrible. Of course we're going to cling to the things of this life because the things of this life are immediately satisfying. I mean, there's a lot of exciting things in the world, right? If you can achieve them, if you can get them. A lot of exciting things, you can cling to these things. And the more I've looked into this, the more I've been studying the Bible, the more I've been reading about near-death experiences and what people are saying that they're seeing, all these different things, I think I've realized, this is challenging me too, but I think there's a definite connection between higher levels of anxiety and depression and struggling and a low view of heaven. If all we have is this life, life is pretty sad, isn't it? Of course we'd be sad, because if all you have is this life is fleeting. I mean, people die every day, every minute, like thousands of people dying. Younger people who've only lived a few years dying. You say, wow, that's not a lot, man. There's a lot of suffering in life. You might say, what's it all for? How does it all work? If all we have is this life, of course life is sad. And in Jesus describing this house with many rooms, with a place for you that God himself, the personal maker of all things, is designing for you, a place for you and for me. As Jesus is describing this, it's just after he said, we read it in verse 1, let not your hearts be troubled. This is the antidote to struggling, to strife, to disappointment, to heartache, to setbacks, to pain. This is the antidote, is to think on heaven, is to be preoccupied with what God is preparing for us in the future.
When you like and subscribe, this video reaches more people.